Well, you can't really see me. Hi! Okay. It's right here. What's up, everybody? Um, can't see me. Turn up the windows. Anyway, what's up, YouTube? Well, I know I took a few days off. Had stuff to do, time to kill, stuff to do. So, I guess we could call this day 7. Even though it's past the day 6, but day 7 of the self-defense and the Bible, or self-defense in the Bible. So I'm doing my Jesus thing here, growing the beard. And then representing Memorial Day, red, white, and blue. But hopefully this video doesn't go too long. But these are the verses I was really, really wanting to get to, but I wanted to take my time and go through it. But it's those, pretty much it's the one in Matthew that they seem to gravitate to. But it's when Peter cuts off the ear of the high servant's priest, or the high priest's servant, where he cuts off the ear, and then Jesus said, "He who lives by the sword dies by the sword." They love using that, but also they forget there's 3 other books in the gospel. You got Mark, Luke, and John. But they only use Matthew. Why is that? Because it only tells them, it allows them to say that and it'd be true. But from here, I'm not going to use Matthew because that one gets way overused for self-defense in the Bible. But I'm going to look at Luke and John. Those 2. Now Luke was basically a detective back then. He actually goes through and talks to the people that were actually there at the time Jesus did what he did. So it says here in Luke, when the other disciples saw what was about to happen, they exclaimed, "Lord, should we fight? We brought the swords." They asked the Lord, should they fight? That's why I like Luke, because it actually brings that into detail of what Matthew doesn't. Taking it from a different point of view where Luke investigated everything. So here it shows that his disciples asked, should we fight? They brought swords with them, because it does say in Matthew, I forget the verse and the chapter, but it does say where Jesus says, if you have a coat, sell the coat and get a sword. Because at that time, most of the disciples and whatnot would travel. And Jesus knew there were bad people along that road. Not the ones that would go after him for their beliefs or anything, just would go after him to kill them for just money. So that's why Jesus said he knew that they would need a sword at some point in time. So that's why it says we brought the swords, do we fight? So they asked Jesus, do we fight here? And I'll get into that a little bit. But Jesus said, don't resist. After Peter cut off the ear, Jesus said, don't resist. That's cool. And then he touched the place where the man's ear had been and healed it. So it doesn't say who lives by the sword dies by the sword, even though I know for a fact he said it because they're in red letters that he did say it. But in mine, I don't have the red letters. But anyway, it says, do not resist anymore. And I love how this one goes because I heard a video of a guy talking about this to other people. At this time, Jesus was getting arrested. Okay? Arrested. Now, what would happen if, say, your family member was getting arrested, but yet you didn't like it, so you went ahead and hit a cop? What's going to happen to you if you hit that cop just so... your family member's going to get arrested. That way they can deal with it in the precinct and stuff to figure it out. They're not arresting them right off the bat. They're investigating what's going on. But if you hit a cop while they're being arrested, you're resisting authority. That's what Jesus was saying. Jesus knew he was getting arrested. And Peter went ahead and cut off the ear. Because at that time, Peter just decided to go ahead and cut off the ear because he was angry. And that's what we get. We get angry when our loved ones are arrested. We don't know what the reason is. So instead of talking, he went ahead and cut the ear off. And Jesus said, don't resist. Because Jesus knew they were there for one thing, to arrest him. Even though it was a false arrest, which we come to figure out it was false arrest. But Peter went ahead and assaulted an officer of the court, or whatever you want to call it. And that's why Jesus said, don't resist. That's why we say, don't resist the police. Because bad things can happen. So I think Jesus did mean he who lives by the sword dies by the sword, which means if you just have this anger problem building up and you just think violence is the answer for everything, you're going to turn that violence onto that police officer or whoever later on, and you're going to get in more trouble, which means you're going to die by it. So your violence is going to get you in trouble. So that's what that one means, what I think it means. Then it says in John, where it goes again, where Peter drew his sword, slashed off the ear. But Jesus said to Peter, put your sword back into the sheath. Huh. Did he tell Peter to throw away his sword? No. He said put it in his sheath. Why? Again, in Luke it said, do not resist. So with self-defense and concealed carry and all this, everybody that's got weapons and all that, we keep them holstered or in the sheaths unless we need it. Now, if we draw that weapon on an authority figure like a cop or FBI or something like that, in the same respect, we're going to get shot because we're resisting the authority of the police officers. Whether or not we think we're right, that's where the investigation and all that goes into. But if we draw or unsheath our weapons and fire or point at them, then we're going to get killed. So basically, he who dies by the sword, he who lives by the sword, dies by the sword, you know, that type of thing. Even though the action movies put it in a different respect. But what it's saying here is, Jesus does not condone people that carry weapons. Like, you can read it. It says in Luke, Jesus, do we fight? We brought our swords. So, for all the Christians out there that are cops or stuff like that carry weapons. Are they still living by the sword and dying by it? I don't know. Because if they don't unsheath their weapon have to undo it every time, they're not living by it. They're showing restraint. They're respecting the people. They're not resisting everybody when they pull guns. Or when they don't have to pull a gun, they don't pull a gun. Kind of like with some concealed carry, or you carry a knife. The knife stays where it is, or the gun stays where it is, until you have to use it. If it comes to an authority figure, you inform them, hey, I've got this. Then they take it from there. But if you automatically draw the weapon every time a cop comes near you, or an authority figure comes near you, then you're just ending up going to kill yourself in the long run. Because that's all you know is violence, violence, violence. So I think that's also where violence comes in. He who lives by violence all the time will die by violence. So police officers don't use violence all the time. Neither do soldiers or security. They don't use violence all the time. So does that actually, he who lives by the sword dies by the sword, verse that is always used in the self-defense versus church aspect, really in context, or did they just use that because it's the only one they can find that represents what they're trying to say? This might go a little longer, but if you agree with me, that's cool. Give me a thumbs up. But I don't know if I'm just rambling or if making sense to some, but for us that carry knives or guns or use self-defense at any point in time, he's not saying don't do anything. He didn't tell Peter to throw his sword away. He's just saying resheath it, because there is a time and place. There's a thing on Facebook that I liked, and it's Omega Concepts version. I posted it, and I forget the wording exactly, but there is a time and place for everything. I might post it on my Facebook or something, or I think I might have shared it. But anyway, there is a time and place for everything, and God and Jesus knew that, because also in Luke it says, "Don't you think I can call my Father and He can bring down angels to protect us?" Protect us. I'll get into that in the next ones. But Jesus knows when to protect and when it's not right to protect, or when somebody's resisting the authority over that. So it's also saying, if we love God, we're not to resist His authority over us. I think it kind of goes deeper, and I'm going too deep undercover for it, but that's my little thing for today, and I know it's going over, and I'm sorry. But, yeah, it's Luke. Oh, crap. It's Luke and John. So, I mean, you guys can read it. Let me pull it up so you guys don't have to thumb through it all. But it's Luke. Crap. It's Luke chapter 22, verses 49 through 51 in Luke. That's where that good part comes in. And in John, it's chapter 18, verses 10. Well, actually, yeah, that is 10. No, verses 10 and 11. Well, you can find those too. So it's Luke chapter 22, 49 through 51. And then John chapter 18, 10 and 11. So go read it for yourselves. Don't take my word on it. Go read it for yourselves. See if that works. See if you are thinking the same way I'm thinking. But give me a thumbs up, like the video, share it. I'm having fun doing this. Hopefully you and I have learned something as I'm going through this. Even though the open carry videos got more views right now. I wonder why. But yeah, that's the video for today. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I'll call it something. You'll see it. But thank you for the ones that have been watching them. Thank you very much for watching them. Don't have a big channel. I'm just doing videos where I think I need to do videos. But hopefully that helps you guys out. So, see you in the next video, and it might be the last one. So, stay tuned.